they had this engine glitch or something, and then it, like, they slipped out of time, basically. They were just, like, in blackness. And then, like, a day later, he posted a picture, and it was, like, super, like, all the text that went with it was, like, really, really garbled, and it was, like, a picture of him sitting next to the window, Reddit username out.
Into several areas, because
taking a picture of that next to the window, and the window was, like, totally black. And
Rome took over, and for the most...
Maybe he took it when it was nighttime.
No, it wasn't like nighttime. Like, it was solid black. You know what? Like, when... And it didn't look the same as that. But you're right, maybe it was. Anyways, so it's totally similar, right? Where, like, people were kind of talking about this, like...
with Roman rule.
Well, of course.
It
people just, like, slipping out of time, or, like, ships slipping out of time, things like that. So I mean, you know, I know it's a crackpot theory, but I kind of like it.
Well, it's an interesting thing to think of.
Absolutely.
And it's also a nice way to think of it, because these people who have disappeared, well, they're not dead. They're just somewhere else.
They're just
They just haven't come back yet.
They're just trapped in another dimension, being like.
They welcome you. Ever heard of Time Goblin?
Now you have.
Yeah, now you have.
All right. Well, let's get into the whys. Happen is, and they would send.
This happened. One possibility mentioned was that suicidal pilot syndrome. One of the pilots wanted to commit suicide and do it in a spectacular way. The problem with that is, you know, if you want to...
Later emperors learned from the mistakes.
Why do you think around for 7.5 hours?
Yeah.
And, although
second thoughts.
Yeah, second thoughts.
7 hours worth of second thoughts. Being a battle or an uprising.
And so when they first started going a little bit erratic, when they took that excursion to 45,000 feet, so I can imagine, let's say one of the pilots clonks the other one on the head, because obviously the other one's not going to be, you know, too copacetic about the whole thing, you know. And so he clonks him on the head, and then just like takes the plane, starts shooting the plane as high as he can go, and then just decompresses the entire plane. You know, and
I've heard that.
Hypoxia sets in, and everybody's dead in moments.
From another place, and they would move it there to still drop, but they only have enough air for like 10 or 15 minutes or so. Place that they had just now left unguarded for a long time before everybody just eventually passes out and dies.
Yeah, exactly, including you, the pilot. And then
I also heard the theory of
hoarding
catastrophic decompression.
Well, there is that. It depends on the size of the hole in the hull, because there have been incidents like that in the past, where like there was one where a big section of
the thing is, don't move.
It just blew away, just tore off, and once
just went pop.
Yeah, one stewardess she was not belted in, so she got sucked out the hole and bye bye. And but apparently she was the only casualty, because everybody else was wearing their seatbelts. And actually, after I saw that story in the news, I started getting more religious about wearing my seatbelt on airplanes.
Totally.
You know?
The thing is, Hollywood has screwed up everybody's perspective of what happens with when a cabin depressurizes round.
Yeah, but still, and so they're
pretty
built,
good.
They're built pretty. They're pretty stout.
Yeah.
That is.
Somebody from the 9th, you know, rejoins
that on a movie, and suddenly every seat just rattle.
Pop. Yeah.
Not real.
No, not at all.
Sorry to break your heart, but it's not real.
Or a super shoddy air.
Yeah, definitely. If you're not belted in, well, yeah, you could very well wind up going out through that hole. But of course, there's ways to decompress.
Okay, a plate I get. A roofing tile is a weak.
Yeah, but there are other scenarios too. Like there is the hole failure scenario, which also an incident that happened a while back that I was telling you guys about, peeled away. Which is not really consistent with the safety record of the 777, but it could happen.
Nor like all the other stuff that happened on it, right?
Yeah, well, it's not consistent. Yeah, so that could cause a massive decompression and incapacitate the crew and all the passengers, but that wouldn't really explain why they took an excursion to 45.
Intuitive. if you have a cabin decompression issue, you go down, and taking it with you would, to me, be the equivalent.
So if stuff wasn't working, right? Like if they got maybe hit by a meteor or whatever, right? I don't know what happens to all the equipment inside of you if you're
plate off of my apartment and taking it to my new apartment.
No, I'm thinking more like, what's that other one we were talking about where it was in the middle of the night and if your equipment wasn't working particularly well, you wouldn't. I don't know. For me, it's more of
Valentage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe, I mean, he was a very skilled pilot. This guy, right?
Right, and he had a much more technological.
But if he was like on low oxygen or like panicking in the moment.
Yeah, decompression wouldn't cause the instruments on the plane to malfunction, but it definitely could interfere with your judgment, or perception. So it's possible.
Yeah.
So he thought he was going down, and when in fact he was going up.
Yeah, I mean,
which is making the situation even worse.
Yeah. And now I got transferred. I'm gonna take a piece of my house and
figures it out.
Crap. Yeah.
Yeah. Although again, I don't buy that because they have oxygen.
It's not as though
it is.
Things weren't getting destroyed.
Then the cabin.
I have heard varying lengths. I've heard 30 minutes on those, so it's about double what the cabin time is. But that's more than enough time. Yeah, but again, when you have the right. And so the thing about it is like it's just like what they tell you when you're on the plane. They say if this mask pops out, and say you got your kid is basically put the mask on the kid. You put that mask on yourself first, because if you don't, then you might wind up just succumbing to hypoxia. And so same thing with the pilots. I mean, when that mask pops out, the very first thing they're going to do is grab that thing and put it on their face.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're probably not going to have any sort of mental issues or anything like that.
Theoretically, yeah.
They shouldn't. Yeah. Okay, so suicidal. We're gonna rule out the suicidal pilot syndrome.
Let's move to.
What's been floated is that it was taken for ransom. So the plane and the passengers.
That the 9th Legion, which is a couple of bucks, a little bit of change.
Yeah. That'll do, I guess.
Throw a couple quarters together.
Yeah, I know. So the insurers, I'm sure, would be happy to pay $50 million, $100 million.
Or relocated. Ransom all of those people off as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like human beings are worth a good amount of money to people who
they usually are.
Yeah, they usually are. Yeah. So somebody.
They were moved to a strong.
So yeah, there might be maybe a government or governments are negotiating with these people.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my entire.
Well, yeah, I know.
Third time I've heard that tonight.
Yeah. It seems a little unlikely, because the problem with that is that there's really no reason to keep it a secret, and if you do keep it a secret, when eventually you publicize the fact that you kept all these families in the dark for all this time, I mean, it's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah.
So I find that a little hard to believe.
Agreed.
Ransom seems to be kind of out of the picture.
I've got one.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, I've got another fact that in Caledonia, which Boeing has been in the process of trying to upgrade the network system in their planes, the internal networks that tied all the computers, was almost completely wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
Or a port, I should say, not a drive, but a port. And Boeing has realized that the networks are all tied together. 83, by the way. They absolutely got computer is all networked together, so it's possible that somebody could have not hijacked it, but they're calling it a hack jack.
Mm-hmm.
They hack the system, and then if I've got my little tablet in my hand and I plug it in and I hit the button and it executes a program, and suddenly I'm in control of the plane and just playing the controls on my, doing stuff on my little tablet. Nobody's the wiser. The crew is freaking out, but nobody knows, and so they came in that barely saved them, and on autopilot and shut down all the communications. So there's also evidence just sitting here flying the plane. Now, I don't know why somebody would do that, and I don't know how the heck they would have got it back on the ground.
Yeah,
but
it's
real hard.
Legion. I couldn't see it called out. I've crashed many a plane in a flight simulator trying to do autopilot. I know it's not good.
Nah, supposedly most of the modern planes can land themselves. They don't actually, You've taken command of the plane. And by the way, just to editorialize for a sec, if Boeing really actually did network the flight computer and all that stuff in with all the other stuff in the plane, what an idiotic thing to do.
I suspect they didn't intentionally do it, but that their firewalls were not as robust as they thought they were, so it would be fairly
They've been in the process of upgrading everything to try and separate it, evidently, according to the reports that I've read.
It seems like it would be like, I mean, a skill...
Whether those two were combined into...
That's connected by the same wires, right? Even if it doesn't technically...
So, the 6th and the 9th...
hardware, you can hack into it.
Yeah,
but it's, I mean, that takes a very malicious, thoughtful act.
Yeah, and
definitely.
It's probably not math. Unfortunately, it's not basic math. But
could possibly have done something like that.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean,
but again, this goes back to why would you do that? What are you now doing now that you've done it?
Yeah. So
to a completely different number, and then
killed. And the other thing is that you take over the plane and you're flying it off to wherever you feel like taking it off to. What's the first thing the pilots are going to do? They're going to try to get control back, first of all. Second of all, they're going to get on the radio and start talking to ground control.
Not if you've disabled communications, right?
Theoretically, if you can hack into the computer, you can shut down all the communications.
Yeah.
Really?
So they wouldn't be...
Bermuda Triangle.
You've shut down the radio. You've shut down everything. You're turning off all the corresponding systems. And legions.
Yeah.
The only thing...
Yeah. So this hacker would have to be somebody who really knew a hell of a lot about the 777.
It would have to be somebody that somehow got a hold of Boeing's information to know about the transfer thing. The only thing I can think of that might...
Somebody that actually wrote code for Boeing, I would think.
You would think, or had gotten access to it to then interpret it, figure out how to get in it, rewrite, and all. I mean, there's an officer from the 9th Hispaniable situation or viable way for it to happen.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Well,
it's scarily possible.
Yeah, the Malaysians are now they're looking into every single passenger that was on the plane. So if there are any ex-Boeing employees that were on the plane,
surely
I guess we'll find out about it.
Yeah, well, they were focusing on the two guys that were on the plane that had fake passports or stolen passports.
Yeah,
and they've obviously ruled them out. Evidently, they say now those guys were still loyal to his group. Then they're making these systematically. They're doing it now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they are.
You know what?
We are getting more scrutiny than others.
What about a fire?
There's a fire. That's a possibility.
Like Fallen Brothers.
Yeah.
That's the only... I came across. So here's how this breaks down. And it was a pilot, I think, that posted this, or it was in this news article. Is that if at takeoff there is a fire starts with the landing gear because it was hot, so the tires won't have had as much pressure in them because to compensate for that, or because of that. And so then that would cause a small fire to start in the gear, which then would work through the hydraulic lines, that then could get into the electrical system. So then it causes theories are really all about destruction. This might explain why everything shut off, is the pilots are destruction of the... and yanking all the electrical buses out to stop electricity flowing so that it doesn't spread. And either it damages something. The other ones could be they kind of maybe, for whatever reason, they can't get the whole thing to come back up. And that actually, Joe, the plane changed course, and which way did it head when it had? Are all pure kill. Straight up kill.
So
or northwest, right?
yeah.
And they were saying that the change in elevation may have been because of the problems with the computer because of the fire. And then this guy was saying that, okay, well, I can totally explain why this pilot did this. He's saying that the pilot was going to the Langkawi Island. Yeah. And the reason that they say that they would have gone to this airport is pilots are trained that when your system 32, there are obstacles and you don't want to go near anything that has people. So they're going to take what is now known as, in modern day time, best to get to that airport to then land in a catastrophic situation. And according to him, it sounds like then he's saying basically, it's kind of a gray area.
Yeah, so Langkawi is like, it's kind of on their route. I mean, they were headed in that direction, but it's on the opposite side of the Malay Peninsula.
Right, but there's no big
end of the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
It's right there.
That one.
They don't have, all their systems are hosed.
Yeah.
So it's very easy just to go this direction. No, I'm not going to run into anything. Literally run into anything.
Yeah. And then what happened? Why did they not land there?
He thinks that because of the electrical fire, it just sabotaged the system so bad that eventually they gave out and the plane crashed into the ocean.
Like, it just seems like there's a lot more land in between.
The Bar Kachba Revolt and
right? Because we're looking at a map right now.
Okay.
And then and they flipped a U-turn in like kind of on the ocean, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
because there was huge religious persecution going on, valid based on this guy's experience, and he puts forth a good case.
Yeah, totally.
So I mean, it's hard to say.
So okay.
On the Roman.
The theory that's been put forth is that the plane was taken because there was a person or an object on the plane that the pirates really wanted badly.
Oh, that it was air piracy.
Yeah. So pirates, but that's the whole thing about that is there's got to be easier ways to get your hands on that person or that object.
Yeah, totally.
There's got to be easier.
Didn't we learn anything from Oceans 11 through 13?
Yeah, I thought it was Oceans 11 through 18 or something.
It was just the three of them. Yeah.
The 9th was sent to that area
back to square one here. Okay, so another theory is that it was hijacked for an Kuala Lumpur would be great for that because Kuala Lumpur has got lots and lots of really tall buildings, and it'd be a great target for your Al Qaeda types because as you guys all know,
higher legion was killed by
Islamist kind of stuff.
Well, and it's right near Singapore, kind of too, right?
Yeah.
And there's lots of big buildings
there. Lots of big buildings there too.
Fairly liberal and Western there.
And that remained of the
intelligence had interrogated a guy, an Al Qaeda type, who informed on them, and he was aware. He was a Malaysian. He was aware of some Malaysian Al Qaeda members who wanted to pull off a 9/11 style attack. According to this guy, he went to the informer went to a training camp in Afghanistan, and they gave him a couple of real high-tech exploding shoes, shoe bombs.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and so
really matters. So they just, go home.
Well, at some point, he got him back home. Apparently, he got instructions from Al Qaeda.
Well, there's evidence that
that he should turn over one of his shoe bombs to them so that they could use it to blow open the cockpit door. Because as you know, cockpit doors are a lot stronger than they used to be.
Oh yeah, there's a big deadbolt, and it's called the second.
The idea was this group was going to use the shoe bomb to blow open the door and take over the airplane and go do another 9/11. So it's conceivable something like
prior, and this one is where they really
1,000 feet, because if you're the pilots of the plane and you got these guys coming into your cockpit, what do? You'd like hammer the throttles forward as hard as you can and point that nose up and send them tumbling back down the cabin. Bring that nose up.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The problem I have with these terrorist theories is that I feel like the big terrorist
Really
group
kind of did them in.
Yeah, but
And there's a lot.
aren't necessarily known for their like play it close to the chest. What?
Totally flamboyant about it.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at what we
did this. It was awesome.
although of course it was kind of a failure on their part. So
I don't know. They may have killed a bunch of people.
of tiles or plates or anything else.
Act of terrorism.
We didn't kill as many infidels as we wanted, but we killed them.
But we killed a bunch.
Yeah.
So, and the only terrorist group that I've heard so far that's come out
Had lots of forces much closer to Palestine.
near the China-Russia border.
They're Chinese.
Yeah, the Uyghurs.
The Uyghurs. And everybody pretty much has been like, okay, Uyghurs, that's cute. You think you could do this.
Yeah, Uyghurs, yeah,
But
really.
I don't know, like maybe they could have. Maybe they actually did do this. Like, I don't know how seriously people are taking this. I just think that it is the American propensity, and I guess probably the world propensity at this point, to say, yeah, that's
Specifically, which one?
Yeah, there was
That would be the
Egyptian one.
22nd.
they're
Yeah.
great scapegoat, and they tend to be pretty pissed off at a lot of people. Doesn't necessarily make sense that they would do this to like a Malaysian airline, right? Like if they were gonna do it, it seems like it would be a less Muslim, more West
I'd
province.
say
Because I have to say it one more time later on.
Al-Qaeda or the Uyghurs?
Oh, Al Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda, yeah, but they've never hesitated to kill other Muslims. I mean, and besides which, the plane was almost entirely Tariano.
But it just seems like Al Qaeda and the Taliban like to take credit for their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that if one of those groups did it, we'd know because they are. Again, as we said, they are going to claim responsibility.
Yeah, unless of course the next thing. But let me get to that in a sec.
What's
but
the next thing?
back to the Uyghurs. I do want to say that the part of Western China that they inhabit is kind of like
Was based in Egypt, and it.
to us.
Yeah, which is interesting again, right? Because everybody's been saying, okay, cute.
Records as being in the area at that time.
You know, I don't know how much actual investigation, credence, anything has happened with that, but
I'm sure
they apparently did like
the 22nd Legion, who we're talking.
Yeah, and maybe they did. I don't know how easy it is to hide a plane that size.
Yeah, I don't know
I would imagine a lot of satellite photos are being scrutinized pretty hard right now.
China's pretty good at
the record books, just like the technical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Stuff and junk.
They are.
Yeah.
That's actually their national motto.
Yeah, we're good at stuff. We make it smaller. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, on to the next theory. This was put forth by, well, not just him, but by the Malaysian Prime Minister, said that it possibly could have been taken for a quote-unquote later use.
Didn't he say that before they like admitted a lot of stuff though?
Oh no. Whether it was the 9th or the 12th.
Might have been taken for later use, and then he was like, oh, and actually we tracked it for way longer than we said we did.
Both a really bad job.
Yeah, their communications have not been good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was, he said, this came out at a press conference that was
the largest Roman.
It's like, gyrations, turning around, coming back across the Malay Peninsula, and then being tracked by radar up north, and then they would establish by the
is unheard of, and there's only one
towards Kazakhstan or towards Diego Garcia.
Interesting.
So that was about when he said that it might have been taken for later use.
Okay.
And and so the question is what is that later use? Well,
yeah.
Okay, well, what is it?
Well, delivering a nuke, delivering a bunch of dirty bombs. I've taken the liberty of compiling this list of targets here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
Why is Joe always... I think that would have been better recorded and well known. Got this awesome list. Look at this thing I compiled. It's totally top secret. I mean, no, it's not.
There is.
If I could.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, so it's a possibility that it maybe is wanted for use as a delivery device. Say on.
Yeah, we got defeated, but it wasn't that bad.
Let's just hey.
I agree with Steve.
Why don't you buy it?
Because we've already talked about how hard it's going to be for somebody who have.
Not only that, but then to get it back off the ground and to its potential destination undetected.
Yeah, I mean, I guess potentially you could pretend to be another flight who's in distress, and there could be some weird confusion, and it would allow you to get close enough. But I don't
feel like right now at this point, if a flight went up and they were like, "Hey, that's an unidentified 777," and the transponder, right, like the thing that sends pings, unless they strip that thing,
like. Long lines of communication, things like that. Yeah, the ACARS could potentially be completely shut down now. If you're the Empire, it's a really good idea to
7 that has literally no ACARS and is totally unidentified, being picked up on radar, right? And you go, "Oh no, we're in distress." People are going to be like, no.
Definitely want to suppress any bad news like that.
There's
out to you and probably shoot you down.
I frankly am in favor of shooting down all 777s. But the
Empire, I've seen
previously.
Okay,
all right.
So we're gonna run under that.
Okay. So let's say you want to hit a major city or whatever. So you do the whole sneak in. Obviously, you're gonna want to do it at night. It's gonna have to be a nighttime thing. You sneak in right behind another jetliner. And so question is where do you sneak into? So here's some possibilities. You recognize this. This is New York.
Yeah,
that's one possibility.
What was going on the soldiers?
No, not necessarily. You remember this is the extended range.
That's true.
Messengers.
They've got and don't forget the payload on this thing is huge. So I mean, if your plane is carrying just pilot, co-pilot, a few,
it's a lot.
That's pretty lightly loaded. It can go. It'll go further. So you can go a good long ways. So the Hollywood scenario under this one, I've got the
people who thought they had a clue, and then there was that guy in the middle that had
a layout of the 777 here. These are the emergency exits here, and you notice that 4 of them are behind the wings, so you don't need to worry about killing your engines by having a dirty bomb slam into your jet engine at high speed. So yeah, there we go. So you would have to decompress or depressurize the cabin in order to do this, which means everybody would have to wear a breathing apparatus. But supposing you wanted to inflict maximum damage on the infidel foe,
things that came out in the wash later on.
Outside view of this after escape door. It's nice. It's got a nice low threshold. There's no chance they're going to hit your tail.
He's really seriously trying to get us on the watch list.
Yeah,
we're screwed.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just want to I just want to
Hispania. Is that it was
Devin?
I'm not saying that I want
Devin theory.
I'm not saying I want this to happen. I'm saying it's something we should be thinking about.
All right. So what's your next target?
Okay, after. Los Angeles Harbor is the largest port on the West Coast. I mean, it towers above all the other ports. The other ports are Long Beach, right next to it, which is the second largest port on the West Coast. Then after that, Seattle, Tacoma, Portland. And so, but Los Angeles and Long Beach together dwarf all 3 of the other ones.
Others, okay.
Yeah. So it would be a major blow to our economy to dirty bomb these guys or nuke them. Next up.
Yes. He didn't belong for Disneyland.
No, the happiest place on earth.
The Parthians and the Romans had been arguing from the radiation.
I know. Yeah, and next up, this little guy right here. This is where you administer the coup de grace. I mean, you
had a number of wars. But you're looking at this as one extended flight where they are just dropping bomb after bomb. It's truly a bomber.
Yeah.
It's not a crash and throw off one and explode one. Parthian War in 161.
pretty big payload. They could actually come in and, and more likely if they do something like this, it's just going to be a single nuke and that's it. But I'm saying that if they wanted to do something really heinous, I mean, they could.
You're giving some bad people some good ideas.
Yeah, I don't like it.
The nice thing is, actually, statistics prove that bad people don't listen to our podcast. only good people.
Yeah, our market research has been completed.
Absolutely.
Thank goodness for that. I'm glad we paid for that.
Yeah.
Graphic reference. This is Iran today.
At San Diego, home port of the Pacific Fleet, you would take out a lot of incredibly
Exactly.
Dirty bomb this and then proceed south not too far to Tijuana and then nuke Tijuana.
Just to ruin life for everyone.
Yeah. But
Like, not only did we take out all our West Coast ports, but also Tijuana.
No Disneyland and no Tijuana.
I know.
Life is over.
I know. All the fun is
region and annihilated it.
Here, I mean, there's other possibilities. Dubai, for one.
Oh yeah.
I mean, number one, you got this big honking tower, the Khalid Dubai, I think it's called, and. I've read reports that Al-Qaeda, assuming again back to the Al-Qaeda thing, not necessarily Al-Qaeda, but if it is Al-Qaeda and they've got this thing, they might want to actually do something to the Emirates because I've been understanding that they've been kind of turning their attention to the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, that they're not so happy.
Know what it was? No.
Checking it?
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
A giant shining. There's legions that we know that were in the area.
Looks a bit like the tower.
It does.
Yeah. So there's just some various possibilities. If it was
Fulminata,
you're a suicide bomber kind of guy, and you just happen to have a nuke that the Pakistanis gave you.
You're creeping me out.
Or anyone gave you.
Yeah.
Maybe Russia. I mean.
Yeah, but there are also records of the.
There are other possibilities out there too. I read an article by a pilot named Bill Palmer, and he was talking about how the behavior of the plane, all the course changes and everything else, altitude changes, were actually consistent with the plane flying without an operator. So the crew was incapacitated, but flying without an operator and not on autopilot. But even without autopilot, the 777 will fly itself. But
so we know they can't be the ones that were destroyed.
Sort of fly around aimlessly. The course changes can happen because of turbulence. Well, actually, do we know that for sure? And so it's, according to this guy, it's consistent with basically a rudderless plane. It'll just keep going until it runs out of fuel.
They couldn't have re-raised it?
They could have, yeah. It's just a lot sexier. Yeah.
I don't think that's the term that I would use for that. But
sexier?
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
No, I wouldn't call it sexy at all.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Romans had, maybe they had some.
And this is me from layman's term or layman's perspective of it, and I don't understand exactly how these giant planes work. The mechanics is beyond me, and I admit this fully. But what I was wondering about is that I've seen all these things where people are thinking the plane has been ditched in the ocean somehow, whether for whatever reason it went down in the ocean. If I'm looking at it from the perspective of somebody intentionally did whatever it is, I know that, and again, this is the Hollywood trope that I've got from the stuff that I've read, is boom, like things don't go well.
Yeah.
But knowing how big and stable this plane is, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was wondering, they didn't reuse it. It was almost an go down to come down to a low altitude and really slow the speed down. You guys have made paper airplanes. The third Apollinaris was, and then it comes out of that, it comes through the bottom of its arc, and it goes up just a little bit, noses up, and then it just sets down on the ground. It just kind of.
I'm not that talented at making paper airplanes.
Well, it's a talent. I can't help it.
Yeah.
But the point is it possible with a plane like that to slow it down enough and to get it to kind of nose up and then
stall.
lose its inertia and stall out and just drop. There's 12. Boom, just drop it flat into the water rather than trying to skid it. That's the impression that I've got, and I could be completely wrong. That's why I'm asking, because I wonder about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the thing about that is like your paper airplane is moving
Theory.
down. But the problem is that for a Boeing 777 stall speed is I don't know exactly what stall speed is, but it's going to be.
And if you remember in the beginning, I talked about the 2 dates of record.
Because that's the point of where air is not flowing over the wings enough to keep it lifted. It stalls and then it drops, and
then it hurts.
Yeah, and then it hurts real bad. And so it's still. But let's say for example, that stall speed is only 50 miles an hour, which I'm sure it's got to be more than that.
Okay, well let's just hypothetically.
Yeah. Say it's 50 miles an hour. So you're
so it is still clipping right along.
Yeah, so it's still clipping right along. You go up, you come down, and then because you're in the open ocean.
The year 165.
Yeah.
This is.
And you've got 2 big engines hanging down below your wings, and
the only one that hinges on that 165 record day.
Actually, the same time, which you're not going to do. You know, what's going to happen is one engine is going to catch first, and then you're going to just cartwheel.
Okay.
Or spin around or whatever.
It was of course, that the 9th Hispanic
flight in New York a couple of years ago, where that pilot was able to ditch it in like Long Island Sound to ditch that plane. But that
was a really small plane.
I forget.
Or in that they were moved into that area. Not anything huge.
No, I thought that was like an airliner.
It wasn't a huge thing. It was a relatively small, the kind where it's like 2
puddle
seats.
Jumper?
2 seats on each side of the aisle, kind of. It wasn't a huge.
It wasn't a 777.
Yeah, and also it was landing in very calm waters where there weren't big waves to catch your engines on and stuff like that. So it was pretty favorable circumstances. But on the open ocean, it seems unlikely you're going to be able to ditch it without catastrophic results.
All right.
And so here's my big thing.
Agreeing with that, they all
burned up in a fiery ball. Is that there have been reports.
One of you could say.
Family and friends that are on this airliner trying to call their cell phones, and their phone's ringing.
Yeah, I have the answer. Area, which I know I just said wrong.
I think it
is. Have you ever called internationally?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you ever noticed that you make an international call and sometimes it rings?
But I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it.
That's fine. But the way I understand that operating is that the service provider is trying to reach the phone, and it starts giving you the ringing noise. Doesn't mean it's actually connected. It's giving you the noise because it's saying, I'm trying. I'm trying.
Well,
and then maybe you hear a click, and then it actually will be the Well, the response to you...
It's an illusion, basically, convincing you, that something is happening.
Destroyed in which battle? Because
it's an illusion.
I have family overseas, and I have called them before, and let's say that it normally takes 4 rings for their answering machine to pick up, and then the answering machine will pick up. It's because the servers haven't quite connected yet, but they're still throwing the noise to me to let me know it's working. Destroyed in the Parthian War. The people saying, we keep trying to call my brother, or my mom, or my aunt, or whoever it is, and it's ringing. So their phone must be on, but I don't buy into it knowing how those systems work.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, supposing they...
Yeah.
Would you be able to track them down using that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Quite likely if there's a cell tower.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a cell tower.
Yeah.
That the 9th Hispania was destroyed in one or the other.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah, super waterproof, plus they float.
Extremely unclear. And I gotta be honest with you, going, hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
I don't think that's happening
No,
either.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So I am trying to think. I've kind of run out of theory.
No,
well, alien
mysteries because There's so much stuff to dive through, and they were stolen by the Chinese or the Malaysian Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. No, it looks like the Bermuda Triangle just got extended a big.
That I can't go into. I mean,
It's the Malacca Strait
Triangle.
anomaly.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true. That's true because we had that other.
There's that too.
Well, there was that other mystery that we solved.
The other one.
Yeah, the whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
The ship.
That thing.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, that one thing that we
Yeah,
solved.
so Bermuda
that
Triangle.
thing with
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do, Hickey?
I just, I mean, other than aliens obviously being responsible for it, I think
Aliens,
we're.
yeah.
I don't have anything
Yeah,
else.
no, I don't. I mean, I like the idea. It's a group of thousands of, and they haven't been able to get a hold of anybody, and they're all okay.
Mm-hmm. That's. Yeah.
But I really, I unfortunately lean more towards the catastrophic fire. I mean, we just talked about, what, 40, 50, 60? The flotsam theories that we've seen out there. It's the only one that strikes possibly true to me. And then, unfortunately, it just didn't make 5,000 men a year over...
Are totally reasonable, not theories we like the most.
Oh, no. You know me. I don't go with my favorite theory because I think it's fun. I'm devil's advocate. Which one do I think could really happen?
Because
That's
my
just me.
my favorite theory is they slipped out of time.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
I run out of time all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my favorite is that somebody took it for later use. And so but the great thing about that one is, like, they're busy tearing up the ocean in Kazakhstan and everywhere else looking for wreckage right now.
I've never been able to settle on. I don't know about the parent.
But as far as somebody taking it for later use, we're going to find out about that too. And it might be that they probably were chopped up pretty bad.
Not unheard of.
Yeah.
No, it's
Plane
not.
to go down and go and find it because it's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of miles of square ocean.
I think that. See any evidence. So the guys that are sitting on it right now obviously realize they can't keep this secret for too long, so they're going to want to use it, go nuke Tel Aviv or somewhere like that. Places.
Oh, I know what happened to
Tucked
them.
away in a very secure hangar somewhere. They might decide just to sit on it for a year or two.
Or 5.
And then bring it out.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to really remember the transponder number in 5 years. 10 years.
So they might sit on it for a while. But, I mean, I'm kind of guessing they won't wait that long. I'm kind of guessing these guys are impatient. You know these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Radicals, I believe is the term you're looking
Yeah,
for.
loons.
So the doctor in the battle for the Pandora.
We're on our website.
Okay.
Which is Thinking Sideways Podcast.
What is this?
And which one of them?
Find us on iTunes. We are on iTunes. We're also on Stitcher. If you haven't had time to download it to your iPod, then go to Stitcher.
Rory Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like us on Facebook. And, if you want to send us an email, if you have theories, or if you're one of the hijackers that stole this plane, we really want to hear from you.
Or the alien. I think they probably were just...
Just to anybody important.
I can't promise that.
John.
Oh, I promise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can contact us at our email address, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. If you're the Malaysian Prime Minister, don't stress. We're still thinking about it. We'll get back to you soon. All right. Well, anyway, that's it for this week. This is, by the time you hear this, who knows?
Wait, they were destroyed. I think they just were.
I mean, the only...
But didn't we just solve it?
We did. Well, we thought we solved the 3. In the next week, we'll know which one of us was right.
Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out. Until then, goodbye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Again, I couldn't find death tolls, but he... of water.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What? Story
series of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Well, hey, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of Thinking Sideways, the podcast. I am Steve. Of course, I am joined by
Devin.
And Joe.
And once again, we got a mystery.
Yeah.
Ranks during this time, you know, if there's only a few.
Shooting fish in a barrel. Well, anyway. So
there's going to be 5,000. They're going to be dwindling.
and evidently on a historical mystery
I
bend.
think some of us
Yeah.
are, yeah. Like we did the runestone,
Yeah.
too. That was mine, even.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, we
the
really
rooster.
have.
They'll just send you.
It's
I
gotta
can,
happen.
yeah, for my last one that we just did, I was like, you know, knife edge. Do I do a disappearance or do I do a murder? And I was that if they had some bad luck, I think it's going to be a real bloody, disgusting murder.
Sweet.
Ugh.
Well, let's talk about this